Hey guys, it's me, Claire, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year Freakout book tag. I don't have much to say, so I'm probably just gonna get into this video. So yeah, the first question is best book you've read so far, and I have chosen 3 books to show you all. First book I have is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read this back in May, I think, and it was so good. This is like the quintessential dark academia book, and like everybody knows about this in the dark academia community, but it's so worth the hype. It's one of my new favorites, and it was absolutely brilliant. If you don't know what this is about, this follows our main character Richard, who goes to an elite college in Vermont and meets these few other students who are studying classics, and it's a very elite kind of group. They're all incredibly intelligent and kind of very cliquey, and there's something very strange about all of them, and there's like obviously something more going on in this friend group that Richard doesn't know about at first, and it's oh good. Oh my gosh, I couldn't put this book down. The first time I picked it up, I read 100 pages of it, and it's a 500-page book, but I read it and it literally felt like it was only like 200 pages. It's so good. Like, I love it so much. So yeah, The Secret History is so amazing. The next book I have is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I just finished this a few days ago, and oh my gosh, I cried so much reading this book. So this is following our main character Celie, who is a young black girl living in rural Georgia during the 1930s, and basically follows her as she experiences a lot of manipulation and abuse from the older men in her life, from her father, from the man she's married to, and also it also follows her sister Nettie, who she kind of lost contact with for a while, but they end up writing letters to each other, and Nettie is a missionary in Ethiopia, I believe. So yeah, this book is absolutely brilliant. I think this is a book that everybody should read. I mean that wholeheartedly. This is a book that I think everybody could get something out of. It talks about so many issues in the Jim Crow era in America, as well as colonialism and post-colonialism in Africa. So, I mean, yeah, it is so good. I just can't. I cried so much reading this. Alice Walker wrote a note at the beginning of this. I don't know, her preface. I highlighted a part that made me cry. So this is it. Or perhaps it is the pagan transformation of God from patriarchal male supremacist into trees, stars, wind, and everything else that camouflaged for many readers the book's intent, to explore the difficult path of someone who starts out in life already a spiritual captive, but who, through her own courage and help of others, breaks free into the realization that she, like nature itself, is a radiant expression of the heretofore perceived as quite distant divine. If you like, I think it makes sense to read the preface actually after you read the book, and it's so beautiful. It explores spirituality and abuse and misogyny and racism and friendship and life, and it's just I cannot give this book enough credit. It beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So the last book that I have for this question is This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Of course I'm putting this in here because I talk about this book literally all the time. But this is following Amory Blaine, and this is a semi-autobiography of Fitzgerald's life. But this is following Amory Blaine, who grows up in like kind of an upper middle class family and is very kind of like Dorian Gray. He's very vain and expects a lot out of life, and I think this book is following him as he is kind of let down by a lot of people and a lot of things. And I don't even know how to put this. It's just such an amazing book. I love it, and I think I loved it so much because it was kind of a semi-autobiography of Fitzgerald's life, and Fitzgerald is one of my favorite authors ever. So I think that made me love this even more, but it explores just so much, and I love a lot of this part. Amory Blaine is at Princeton because Fitzgerald went to Princeton, and it's him and his friends just being obsessed with literature and reciting poetry to each other, and I love that aspect of it so much. I couldn't get enough of this book. I love it so much, and I'll probably reread it soonish. So yeah. The next question is your favorite sequel. I don't read a lot of series, I guess, but I did finish the Dorothy Must Die series in January, and I really, really loved the last book, and it was The End of Oz by Daniel Page. Yeah, Daniel Page. And this, I love retellings. The Wizard of Oz and The Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite stories. Surprisingly, I haven't read the book, but I love the movie, and I really need to read the book. But this is a retelling of that story, basically, where Dorothy is kind of evil. And I literally love this series so much. So brilliant, so good. It was just, I just love retellings, and if you like The Wizard of Oz, I would definitely recommend this. This is the last book in the series, but it's basically following our main character, Amy, and she lives in, like, Kansas. She's a normal gal living in Kansas, and she is kind of transported to Oz. It's so good. It's so good. Just, if you like The Wizard of Oz and want a retelling, the Dorothy Must Die series does an amazing job of retelling it. The next book is a new release you want to read, and I desperately want to read My Dark Vanessa. Don't know who that's by. I also don't own it, so yeah, I might buy it on ebook, but I know it's just about, like, a girl who has a relationship with her teacher when she's in high school, and then ends up, like, when she's older, she looks back on it and realizes it was kind of, like, real messed up, because for obvious reasons. And I believe it's about a bunch of people from her class coming out with stories from that teacher, and that's all I know, but it seems really, really good. I don't know, I would just love to read that as soon as possible. I feel like I've had that on my TBR, like, the minute it came out, the minute I heard about it. So yeah. The next question is my most anticipated release. I don't read a lot of contemporaries, I don't know, but I found out about a new release. I think it's coming out in late June, called Mexican Gothic. It seems so good. It's like a dark academia somewhere. I don't know, I can't even remember what it's about, but I really want to read it, and I'm probably going to pre-order it. And the book is by Silvia Moreno Garcia, I believe. It seems literally so good. I want to read it. It's on my TBR. I'll probably pre-order it. So yeah. The next question is the biggest disappointment, and this is definitely, like, by far the biggest disappointment ever. Not really, but kind of, because everybody loves this book and everybody raves about this author, and I really could not do it. And it is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I'm very sad that I did not like this. It felt to me like there was a lot of fluff and no actual, like, content, if that makes sense. It didn't really focus on anything of importance except for the few pages it actually talked about Dorian Gray's issues, I guess. And that really made me mad, and a lot of it was just, like, very flowery, a bit too flowery for me. And I don't know, I feel bad that I didn't like this, because another quintessential dark academia, but I just, no, I could not do it. But I would like to read more of Oscar Wilde's work, and hopefully I'll like it more. I like to read his plays, so we'll see, but I did not like this, and I'm really sad. The next question is the biggest surprise, and that was The Girls by Emma Klein. Oh my gosh, this book was so good. So I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this. So The Girls is a retelling kind of Charles Manson's cult during the 1960s, and it was so good. I literally could not put this down. I want this book, I love it, and it is so, I don't even know how to talk about this book. It's just so good. But this follows our main character, Evie, and yeah, and she is basically not having fun at home. Her parents got divorced, and she's kind of, like, in that weird, like, rebellious phase of her life. but also her parents got divorced, so it's kind of understandable. But and she meets these girls who are a part of Charles Manson's cult, basically, and he has a different name in the book. Like, all the names are different, but it's based on the actual people who like murdered. You probably know what I'm talking about if you know anything about that, but it's so good. Oh my god, this book, please read it if you want like an interesting drama thriller. I definitely would say it talks a lot about rape and sexual abuse, so if that's a sensitive topic for you, just a warning, because it can be pretty graphic, but still, I think this book was brilliant and I love it, and more people need to read this. I love it. All right, the next question is a new favorite author. I think definitely a new favorite author for me is Tolstoy and Charlotte Bronte. I love them so much. Oh my gosh. I read Jane Eyre. That's the only Charlotte Bronte I've read, which is kind of like, I don't usually like to say if my favorite author is someone if I've only read one of their books, but Jane Eyre was so brilliant. I just know the rest of her work is going to be as brilliant, if not more. So yeah, I want to read The Professor. I want to read all of her books, honestly, but Charlotte Bronte for sure. I think she is one of my favorite female authors, probably. And Tolstoy, I love Russian history, so being able to read like a fictionalized version of Russian history and like Tolstoy's take on Russian society at when he was alive is so amazing. I'm reading War and Peace right now, which is based on the Napoleonic Wars, and I really am loving it. So yeah, I also read Anna Karenina this year and the Kreutzer Sonata. And I have Resurrection that I'd like to read soon as well. Yeah, he has a lot of books out and like short stories and whatnot, so yeah. So the next question is newest fictional crush, and I have to say it's definitely Count Levin from Anna Karenina, speaking of Tolstoy. Levin was such a relatable character for me. I think he was just kind of like the light that this book needed, because it discusses so many really pressing topics, and Levin was just kind of like an angel amongst the thorns. I don't know if that's a saying, but I just made it up, maybe. But I love Levin. He kind of goes through this spiritual journey throughout this entire book, which I think is really what his character focuses on, besides being in love with Kitty. He really is confused about how he feels about God, and I think that's something that I really related to. When I read this, I was just like, so, I don't know, I just loved him so much, and he seemed like such an amazing person, and the way that him and Kitty got together, if you read the book and you know what I'm talking about, with like the puzzle, I can't really remember exactly, but it was like with the puzzles or something, like the letters. Oh my god, that made me, I love that. So yeah, I cannot not talk about Levin. I think he's such an angel, and yeah, of course. So the next question is your newest favorite character, and I have two. So my first one is Emery Blaine from This Side of Paradise, because he's based on Fitzgerald, obviously, but I really feel like I related to Emery Blaine in many ways. I don't really know how to like describe it, but I just really loved him, and he was really just like an interesting character and an interesting person, and I think he was very emblematic of what a lot of people go through in their lives, and like the highs and lows. And my next character is Henry from The Secret History. I was going to say for a while I thought that Charles was my favorite character from this book, and then if you read this and you get to the end of it, it makes me not like Charles much. But Henry, even though he did some stuff that was not good, overall I think he was really nice, and I really liked him, and what happened at the end made me want to it was crazy for me. So I love Henry so much. The next question is the last book that made you cry, and it was The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Obviously I talked about this. I cried so much reading this book. It was so beautiful and so heartbreaking and also heartwarming. So yeah. The next question is a book that made you happy, and my choice for this one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This book made me really frustrated at times, and I also cried reading this book, but overall, it just made me really happy. Like, reading about Jane, I love her so much. She's probably also one of my newest favorite characters as well, but I don't know, just she made me really frustrated at times, but I understood her choices, and ultimately this book just made me so happy. It made me want to cry and hug Jane and hug everybody in this book. I know that Mr. Rochester was kind of not a good person, but also I wanted to hug him too. So yeah, I love Jane Eyre. The next question is the most beautiful book you bought, and I'm assuming this is referring to like the cover, so the outside of the book. So that's what I'm gonna go by. But first I have Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace, and I got the Oxford World Classics edition, and this is such beautiful art. It's beautiful. Let's just be honest. I just would stare at this all day, and I love it. The next book is Candide by Voltaire. This is an older edition, and it has these beautiful sprayed edges, and they're like gold. And I just think this is such an like, I don't even know, it's so beautiful. And there's like really nice drawings or illustrations in the book as well. So yeah. The next question is books that you need to read by the end of the year. And I definitely have more books than these on my list, but these are some of the main ones I feel like. The first one is Dante's Inferno. I'm really excited to read this. I would really like to read it. I feel like I've had this on my shelf for a very long time. And I just haven't read it yet, but I will get to it soon. The next one is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Kind of embarrassed I still haven't read Hemingway yet, but I'm going to. I had this book on my TBR for this month actually, but I don't know if I'm gonna get to it, so I'll probably read it next month. But yeah. And the next book is one that I'm actually reading right now, and I'll probably finish it by the end of the month, but whatever. Putting it on here. But it is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. This is my first Dickens novel, and I really like it. I've already cried reading this. I teared up a little bit, and I think it was mostly because I was really emotional about other things, and I read a line that made me just like, it made me really sad. But yeah, Great Expectations. I'd also really like to read A Tale of Two Cities by Dickens, which I ordered, so cool. The last question is favorite book community member. And I definitely have been watching a lot more booktube this year than I ever did before, hence why I made a booktube. But I think my favorite person to watch, I literally can like watch her in the background of stuff, which is really nice. I don't find that I do that for a lot of YouTubers just in general, because I don't know, but Carolyn Marie Reads, I love her videos. They're so calming and they're so nice. And so those are all the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I will leave my Bookstagram and my Goodreads down below. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say, but I hope you guys are doing well and are having a good day. So